Hello everyone, welcome to MGM Healthcare's very important and topical session on black fungus or mucormycosis. Black fungus is the much talked about complications associated with COVID-19. We have with us today Professor Dr. Sanjeev Mohanty to share some important information on this topic. Professor Dr. Sanjeev Mohanty is an experienced ENT head and neck surgeon presently officiating as Head Institute of ENT Head and Neck Surgery at MGM Healthcare, Chennai. With nearly 25 years of rich clinical experience, he has made important contributions in many niche areas of otolaryngology, which includes numerous original peer-reviewed publications in index journals of repute. Fellowship training stints in famed international centers of excellence have added to the repertoire of surgical skill set acquired over time. His core interest in head and neck surgery and endoscopic rhinology has brought about an inviolable change in the concepts of surgical practice amongst his peers and well-wishers, which have resulted in good clinical outcomes for the suffering patients. Dr. Mohanty has enormous experience in managing this fungal entity even in the pre-COVID times. Welcome Dr. Mohanty, thank you for joining us. So let's begin with a few questions and doubts that we all have. My first question is a very generic question, Dr. Mohanty. What is or what will be the post-COVID reality?
Okay, it's a question which is spanning the minds of everyone, mankind, so to say. And post-COVID, first of all, we need to have the timeline. We are not sure of that. I would go into the specifics of the COVID patients who are recovering. We call it convalescence period. That is the time we have to be very careful about the monitoring of certain symptoms which of late has surfaced and has caused real panic amongst the citizens of especially our country. So hopefully that answers that, and we'll go further whatever doubts you have.
Sure, doctor. The next question is, what is actually black fungus, or why do we call it as black fungus?
Okay. Yeah. It's an important question again. Black is only the color, and the color represents not only the ill effects of the fungus, at times the tissue that it damages acquires this hue of black, which is completely devitalized dead tissue in the regions which is affected by this very dangerous fungus. And let us put it in this way, like, if you have this bread kept overnight for 2-3 days, stale bread, you'll have some mold on top of it. If that acquires melanin pigment, that becomes the black. So it is probably erroneously called black fungus. Actually, it is dirty gray, brown, you can say, with melanin pigment, and associated with black colored tissue damage. All put together, it's called black.
It's called black fungus. I think explained in a very simple way. Moving on to the next question, how common was it generally in the pre-COVID, and why are we now seeing a sudden surge between the pandemic?
Yeah, it's again a very intriguing reality. With my small experience even before the COVID era started, it was mainly regulated with patients who had deranged kidney functions along with immunosuppressive states like uncontrolled diabetes mellitus. We were seeing at least 5 or 6 in a year, all throughout with a lot of referrals. But of late, why in the second wave we have got this is the very fact that we have understood the treatment modality and the protocols little better than the first wave. And the onset of steroids as a treatment protocol in the last wave came towards the end of June, July officially from all the regulatory bodies across international levels. And that has been used, misused, abused. I refrain from using any other adjectives in the present scenario, wherein people have started self-medicating, whether they are diabetic, non-diabetic, pre-diabetic, and that has given rise to this fungus to grow on an already overburdened pandemic with probably the fungus. Hopefully it should not remain a pandemic.
Okay. So as a clinician, what do you expect to see in such a patient who would be, having this infection?
Okay. Most often than not, during the period of recovery or convalescence after COVID, if they are unmindful of the fact that they are not yet recovered completely, they need to go for a very subjective, monitored follow-up protocol post the so-called discharge from hospital, or as they say, I'm cured of COVID. You're never cured of COVID. You have acquired the virus, you have flushed out the virus, and then the ill effects or the deleterious effects have to be monitored. Like you have stuffy nose, you've got redness of the face, one side swelling, eyes popping out, pain all over, vague pain in the head, and these are the things associated with an uncontrolled sugars. And if you have all these metabolic activities with a lowered immune response or immunocompromised states, that is where you need to look out for this.
So these are the common symptoms you see?
Yeah, the common symptoms is probably one side you have swelling of the face and you feel, okay, one eye is, you see a little blurring of vision, one side vision is going off, the movement of the eyeballs is little missed, and then you have very protracted headache on one side. That's the initial sinister signs that you need to flag off and get yourself checked by a clinician and try to seek medical attention.
And who is more susceptible to this? Is there any age bracket that you would?
Not exactly age bracket, but certainly the ones who are generally immunocompromised, as I kept repeating the same thing, one with uncontrolled sugars, diabetes, you have renal parameters deranged. Such patients, if they have had COVID, they need to be doubly, triply, quadruply confident of their follow-up, because those kind of cluster of patients are the subsets where they need to keep coming back to the doctor for a good follow-up. Otherwise, especially those, in fact, with organ transplantation for that matter. You have patients who have undergone chemotherapy, patients who've got malignancies treatment. In such patients, already the immune system is on the lowered category, and then you have a viral infection followed by fungus. So these are the ones which will give you the freedom for the fungus to really spread apart. And if it is mucor or the black fungus, the pathway has to be very quickly stopped, otherwise it's going to be a downhill slide.
Okay. So from a patient's point of view, is it preventable, or can there be a way that you can reduce the chances of getting infected?
Yeah, definitely preventable if you monitor. Again, the borderline is the most important parameter is the blood sugars. If the sugars are controlled and if your renal parameters are kept in check, and if your treating clinicians has a good idea about your regular lab values, which you've been to and forth discussed with them, I'm sure you can avoid this avoidable nuisance which is really plaguing the world now.
Okay. Another question based on patient's perspective, doctor, what should they do if they are diagnosed? What are the basic steps that they should?
Yeah, the first thing is never self-medicate. Secondly, reach out to your clinician who knows you best and who has been treating you. Because he or she would know exactly how your parameters have been, waxing and waning over time. I'm talking about the clinical condition. And then subject these patients to a purposeful examination clinically by an ENT surgeon, because the first site which this fungus attacks is the paranasal sinuses. So a very simple investigation. Post-COVID, usually the infectivity is low. So a diagnostic endoscopy would be the golden rule to deviate from whatever major investigation that you will subject these patients to.
So how does this get diagnosed? You're saying endoscopy?
Endoscopically, we'll give a mode of suspicion. And then you can assert with different radiological investigations, some parameters of fungal parameters, take a biopsy, have a swab. So until and unless it's diagnosed, never self-medicate with antifungal drugs, which is happening these days. People are going all over the place to get and hoard even antifungals like the earlier drugs of antiviral drugs which were hoarded earlier. That is going to be detrimental to the patient's well-being.
So doctor, the cardinal symptoms of black fungus is usually seen on the face?
Yeah, sometimes it is hidden inside the nasal cavity.
Okay.
And a patient will have a pain in that side of, usually one side, we call it the nasoorbit region, from the nose and to the orbit, eye pain, movement of the eyeball might be restricted, you'll have blurring of vision, some redness here, some nasal block, discharge, the so-called black colored tissue. All this will be diagnosed by a diagnostic nasal endoscopy. And then you can subject these patients for a CT scan, MRI. There are specific indications for each.
Okay.
But the most, as they call it, sine qua non finding is to get a diagnosis of mucormycosis by a swab, a biopsy, and to get to the pathology and the microbiology. Only then you can institute a standard of care antifungal treatment.
Understood, doctor. So if left untreated, any adverse effects in the long term or short term? Yeah.
The immediate, early and late effects I can tell you. The immediate effect would be, it will affect the contiguous regions here. So nasoorbit means from the sinus, the eyeball, the orbit, and then it ascends to the brain. So it's called rhino-orbito-cerebral mucormycosis. So in one sequence, it will destroy the entire anatomy. So you've got to be very careful. So it has got a metabolic role so that the sugars are under control, appropriate and dosimetry of all the drugs that is being given, proper monitoring of the renal parameters, aggressive debridement by the surgeon, and it's sometimes multidisciplinary. The head and neck surgeons, the otolaryngologists, you have the facial-maxillary surgeons, the endocrinologists, everybody plays a role to have an overall view of the management into a good account for the patient.
And what are the treatment options?
Okay, treatment options starts with regularizing the blood sugar under control. I keep harping on the blood sugar because that is the starting point of all of this. Then along with that, you need to do aggressive monitoring of the areas which is affected. So surgical debridement we call it, that could entail a small bit of the devitalized tissue being removed, surrounded by a zone of normal healthy tissue which bleeds. Okay. So if a tissue bleeds, you should be happy. Then it could also end up with some kind of removal of part of the facial skeleton, part of the orbit, even the eyeball needs to be removed. It has to, because that is the only way we can save the patient. And alongside this, the antifungal therapy will be also instituted. So it's a combination of lab values monitoring, the antifungal treatment, which again needs monitoring, very, very important monitoring, because it is also renal toxicity is also on the rise, and a local surgical debridement by an endoscope route if required, and an external approach.
Okay. So what would be the rehabilitative measures post-treatment?
Post-treatment again, pre, during, post, again sugar levels to be maintained.
Monitored.
Any signs of immunosuppression has to be monitored. Then if there is something which has been removed from the anatomical aspect of the skeleton, of the facial skeleton, the rehabilitation can be instituted by the prosthesis in that area, so that you can have a kind of a aesthetic feel in that area which has been surgically removed.
Okay. Doctor, your take on the drugs related to black fungus?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, but at the same time, amphotericin B is the antifungal which is recommended.
Okay.
But it should always be in a hospital setting. It should not be on a home setting or a very frivolous run-of-the-mill kind of over-the-counter medication, because it has got a lot of side effects, and the earliest picking up the side effects will be very useful for the patient to have long-term good outcomes. Otherwise, one side you are killing the fungus, other side the kidney is getting damaged. So you got to have a good balance depending on whether the patient is immunocompetent or immunosuppressant.
So what you're suggesting is that it is a hospital-based treatment, not a home-based treatment.
Definitely not. I would, when I take this forum to tell our distinguished viewers that any doubt regarding the black fungus bracket vis-a-vis mucormycosis, never ever self-medicate over the counter. Please come to the hospital and get yourself thoroughly investigated, and then we can do something good for you.
Okay. So now in the recent times, we are seeing kids are also getting affected with COVID-19. So are they also prone to this infection?
Yeah, in my earlier series of pre-COVID mucor, I haven't come across a single kid having mucormycosis.
Okay.
It's good. Having said that, there are a few kids with, we call it insulin dependent diabetes mellitus.
Yes.
We need to have a very close look at those patients, specifically with the fact that these days we are getting a few kids who are also affected by COVID. So we need to monitor them a little more closely. But generally speaking, kids, the amount of immunosuppression with this kind of fungus has been on the lower side.
Understood. A lot of doubts cleared, but any final words of wisdom or advice from your side?
Well, the do's and don'ts. First, the few points that I would like to say, post-COVID, you are never cured completely. It might sound bad, it's a cliche, but you need to keep monitoring at least for the next 3 to 6 months, number one. Number two, whenever in doubt with any slightest symptoms, which we have already elucidated earlier, you seek medical attention. Antifungal therapy is always institution-based or hospital-based, and it's a multidisciplinary team approach. Surgery plays a very important role for getting rid of the unwanted, devitalized dead tissue, which forms a very good strata for the fungus to multiply. And mucormycosis is very, very deadly. If it is not nipped in the bud, it can progress, not only eats away the eye, the vision and all that, it can also take lives. So take it very seriously, and it is a sequence that all of us have to put our shoulder to the wheel to make sure this doesn't become a pandemic in an already established, disgruntled pandemic that we are all facing.
Okay. So, doctor, have you recently encountered any cases of black fungus at MGM?
Oh yes, we had a few in the last couple of weeks, but not quite the numbers that other states are reporting. Nevertheless, we are keeping our fingers crossed, and of the three, two of those patients we had to undertake emergency surgeries like endoscopic orbital decompression, optic nerve decompression, where there was a chance for the fungus to get into the intracranial region. After a very purposeful radiological evaluation, we embarked on the surgery, and happy to share with you that 2 out of the 3 have been discharged from hospital with very happy outcomes. The other is undergoing therapy till now, and hopefully she also should be out of the hospital. So in the pre-COVID era, it was like 5 or 6 or in the whole year. Now in 1 week we've already got 3, so it's not a happy sight, but we need to be keeping our shores tight to see that such cases are not left for unwanted treatment or ill effects of any treatment. We are there to help.
Okay, all right. Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope our viewers would have also enjoyed this topic and would have cleared a lot of doubts that they have regarding the infection. If you have any further questions, please leave a comment and we will be happy to answer them for you. And for any further details, please book an appointment. Our website is www.mgmhealthcare.in. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.